Now, the Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana, they've condemned the recent decision by the government to approve the commercialization of 14 novel genetically modified products, including maize, soya bean varieties. The association says that this move, orchestrated through the National Biosafety Authority, directly aligns with the interests of multinational seed companies, neglecting the concerns and well-being of local farmers and consumers. They argue that despite the nation's abundant food production, with farmers save seed and locally breed varieties, the government's sudden embrace of GMOs raises critical questions about priorities amidst pressing national challenges like climate change. Now, Bismarck Owusu-Norte, Executive Director of the Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana, is right here with me in the studio as we go through this very important subject. Victor, you're welcome to the person you're joining.
Thank you very much for having me.
So, let's establish this. As we speak, legally, GMOs are allowed in Ghana.
Yes, so if you look at our legal regime, in 2015, Parliament passed the National Biosafety Act.
Right.
The Act also established the National Biosafety Authority, and they have the power to approve the commercialization of GMO crops in the country. So legally, yes, they have the right to do that. And then in a sequel to that, they needed to have a protection for those who be interested in breeding GM and other types of seed varieties. So if you recall, from 2015 or so, there was a lot of haggle between the Registrar General Department on one end and then groups like ours on another end when we resisted the passage of the Plant Variety Protection Act.
Right.
Because we believe that...
the one you're talking about, is it different from the Plant Breeders Bill?
So when it was in, during the consultation stages, it was known as the Plant Breeders Bill.
Right.
But after it was passed, it was now known as the Plant Variety Protection Act.
So that is also in session?
So that has also been passed by Parliament. Now, the argument we were making when we resisted the Plant Breeders Bill in that form was that it was just a way to give legitimacy to allow GMOs to come into the country.
Right.
Because when the National Biosafety Act was passed in 2015, since 2015 till 2022, we had no issues about GMOs being introduced to the country. And rightly so. The GMO proponents know that without a legislation that backs them, that protects their rights, that guarantees that they have the right to arrest people who infringe on the laws, they will not come.
Exactly.
So they were patiently waiting for the act to be passed. And once the act passed, we saw how quickly they released the varieties onto the system.
And how is that affecting farmers?
Well, when it comes to the actual rollout, the statement from the National Biosafety Authority clearly indicates that there are no GM variety of crops on the market for farmers to buy. That's what the statement says. And our effort is that we want to ensure that indeed there exists no time that there should be GM seeds on the market for farmers to go and buy. And we lay our reasons as very simple. In the first place, we agree that, and this is a well-known phenomenon in Ghana, that our agricultural sector is beset with a lot of challenges. And every day we document those challenges.
Right.
Ranging from the fact that we have inadequate irrigation facilities. If you look at the report from the Ghana Irrigation Development Authority, that's GIDA, they are saying that we are just doing less than 10% of the potential irrigation of the country. So we are doing way lower than record. When it comes to equipment and mechanization, we are not doing very well. We established what we call the agricultural mechanization centers. An idea was to have them in every district in Ghana to provide tractors and harvesters.
Exactly.
We've not done that. When it comes to access to finance, where farmers need money to be able to purchase inputs, plowing services, we all know the barriers. We know how interest rates are so high, farmers are not able to access facilities. When you come to markets, it's a major issue. As I'm talking to you now, if you send your reporters to the northern part of the country, northern region, upper east, northeast, part of Oti region. Our rice farmers have done a lot of rice, but they are not getting markets.
And the reason being what?
One, because of the high cost of production, the price of the paddy rice is a bit high. So the local millers are not able to buy. Mm-hmm. Secondly, we have inadequate millers in the country, so they cannot mop up all the rice in the system. Thirdly, we've allowed for the cheap importation of other rice into the system. So that has saturated the system, so they feel that there's enough rice, so there's no need to go for local rice.
And there's also no direct agenda to promote local rice.
So even though we are making noise about promoting the cultivation of local rice, when the farmers are putting in their effort to do that, there's no system in place to absorb the rice.
My thinking was that the Ghana buffer stock company,
yes,
I mean they had a program to buy the rice and then send it to, especially to the senior high school. That should have been
ideally
an already made market for you.
Ideally, they don't have the capacity to do that. If you look at the tonnage of rice that is produced, they don't have the capacity.
Meaning what buffer stock cannot buy, or
they don't have the capacity in terms of warehousing, in terms of even money to purchase the rice. They can't. Right? So you expect that as a country, these are the issues that we
should deal with.
So why don't we focus and deal with the issues? But we rather feel that, no, why don't we sidestep the whole process and go for a technology that we feel that if we implement it, it will eradicate all our problems and make our farmers richer. And that's the idea of the GMO. Now, in 2020...
But again, let me just find out. So, I mean, in terms of acceptance, in terms of embracing it, is that you are fully on board? I mean, now legally, it is to be here. Yes. But in terms of accepting it, what is the general feel around it?
For me, you can categorize the level of acceptance from the farmer's perspective and from the consumer's perspective. From the farmer's perspective, we've engaged our farmers. And I can tell an authority, majority of our farmers are against GMOs. They do not like it. And the National Biosafety Authority, I think about 2 years ago, they did a public forum with FDA on GMOs. And the consensus was so clear that majority of people who were gathered there were against GMOs.
And so it raised the question about the kind of consultation that went into the development of the bill and its passage.
Absolutely. And so I even employ your team that if you are done, you can just do a poll. Find out from your people how many of them will prefer GMOs and see the results. So and it appears that our authorities are not listening to what people are saying, but they are interested in what they want to do. And that's where we have a problem. Because our problem is, why do you want to sidestep the whole process, abandon or ignore the key issue that you're supposed to undertake, and then go for a solution that even jeopardizes our entire food system? And that's an area that we don't emphasize much enough. And let me tell you.
Right.
The seed industry is a very big, multi-billion-dollar industry.
Of course.
And currently, it is being controlled by about 4 big companies. The Bayerns, the Sargentes, the Monsanto. They control it. And currently, they control about 50-60% of the seed industry. And they are the ones who are pushing the GM agenda. Now, we always try to cite the Russian-Ukraine crisis and COVID to set an example. As a country, we depend so much heavily on inorganic fertilizer that we import from Europe and other countries. When Russia-Ukraine set in and COVID set in, what happened was that countries protected their food. So even those who are producing the input like fertilizer, they either reduce production or fail to export them. The ripple effect was that in Ghana, the price of input shot up. If you recall.
Yeah, the ministry said that they were not in a position to even supply you with the fertilizers.
Good, remember. Why? Because we're dependent on them for our fertilizer. Now, luckily, I hear that we are putting up our own fertilizer plants in Ghana, which we support very well because that will also help us. So the foundation of your agriculture is actually the seed. Now, we also want to give a situation where the seed that we have now, we are now also going to leave it in the hands of these multinationals. So it means that in the next farming season or so, if we are not able to get the seed from them, we can't produce. Because the GM technology operates in such a way that if you're not careful, it is going to eradicate the local seed systems you have in the country.
Yeah, but I was just coming to that. I mean, the threat this poses for general agriculture in the country.
Yes.
Because then what? If you don't buy the seed from them, you cannot be in business.
So let me explain. If you are a farmer, you have your farm here. I'm also a farmer, and I have my farm here. And you know, in Ghana, because of our land holdings, our farms are very close. If you decide to do a GM crop in your farm, and I decide not to do a GM crop, the same product, let's say maize, you are doing GMs, I'm not doing GMs. Now, when the crops are maturing, cross-pollination occurs. When cross-pollination occurs, the GM crops normally overtake the non-GM crops. So even though I'm not doing GM crops, because of cross-pollination, I'll be forced to harvest GM crops.
Exactly.
So gradually, all the other farmers who are doing the non-GM crops, based on their proximity to other farmers who might do GM crops, then you are contaminating them. Eventually, you'll be forced to do GM crops.
Exactly. You have no choice.
And that's the danger that we are likely to face if you allow this to happen. Now, when I was coming here, and I'm surprised that Joy Multimedia have not received this, but I had a response from the National Biosafety Authority.
But again, before we do the response, I understand that part of this, somebody is taking a legal action relating to the matter we are discussing.
Yes.
What exactly is a person seeking in court?
Well, there are a couple of reliefs that they are seeking. I think the first one they are seeking, and that's one of our partners called the Food Sovereignty Ghana. And one of the reliefs they are seeking is that, per the Act, the Biosafety Authority is supposed to constitute a board. And it's the board that will give directions to how the authority runs. But somehow, the board has not been set up, but the authority is running.
It's already working.
So the challenge is that on whose
authority
are you operating? That's one part of the leg. And I think the other part has to do with how well they've done work to ensure that GM products are safe. And so that's really more of a human rights issue that they're dealing with. So I'm even told they are not even happy with development because they feel that once the case is in court, they should have allowed the process to end before the authority could have come out with that release. But that didn't happen. So I'm sure they are going back to court. Whatever happens.
If I'm a farmer and I decided that I will not patronize the GMA seed,
yes, please.
To what extent would that affect my business?
Well, to the extent that you are not cropping near your fellow farmer who is also going for a GM crop.
But I'm thinking that what you have been used to cannot just run alongside the introduction of the GMO seeds.
The GM crop is the GM technology is a very complex one. So that's why amongst all the varieties of seed is the only technology that mandates that the crops are labeled. When you are going to buy maize from the market, I'm not sure you care whether it's Obatampa or Pana or you just buy.
It's a question I will ask as we go on, whether or not, I mean, the products I'm buying, how sure am I that these are organic or these are genetically modified?
Exactly. So when you go to the market to buy your maize, you don't know. The only difference that most Ghanaians know is whether it's yellow maize or white maize finish. But the maize, there are several varieties, right? We have the OPVs, that's the open pollinated, and we have the hybrids. There are several varieties. Now, there is no danger in buying a maize variety such as hybrid when it's even mixed with another variety.
There's no danger.
No.
But I'm absolutely certain that there was a reason why Parliament insisted that we should have proper labeling.
So that is for the GM crops. That's what I'm saying. When it comes to GM, the technology is different. So that is why they are mandated to label, because the consumer is supposed to know the choices he or she is making.
Are they doing that?
Well, currently, per the release, they said there's no GM product in the market.
100%.
That's what they say.
On every product.
They are mandated to do that. I don't have that capacity. So I can't dispute what they are saying. But they are saying that there's no GM products on the market. And indeed, if you go to their website, what the only approval they've given that is updated our website is the BT cowpea that they've granted approval. The 14 varieties that they said they've granted approval, they are saying that it is not for cultivation.
But for what?
That's the interesting part. It's for food, for feed, and for industry.
Okay.
That is what their release is saying. That the variety that they released is not for cultivation. So, I mean, if I'm a farmer and I go to the market to buy seed, I won't get that GM seed on the market. Fair enough. The questions that we are raising is that, one, you and I were here when the Ministry of Food and Agric told us that due to the success of the planting of food and jobs, Ghana is now a net exporter of maize and soya. That we have more than quadrupled our production. We used to do about almost 600 metric tons. Now we are doing almost 1.8 metric tons, 1.8 million metric tons. So we have so much maize that we consume, we have enough for industry, and then we even export. So if the country is self-sufficient in maize production, on what basis are you telling us that you are now allowing for the import of GMO maize for us to consume?
Because we have more than enough.
Absolutely. The same with soya. We had a soya bean conference last year, with all the soya bean actors. And they were unanimous that if you look at the price of soya on the global market, there was higher demand for organic soya or non-GM soya. So it was important that as Ghana, we try and improve our production of non-GM soya to attract premium prices. So even the soya industry, they believe that non-GM soya is the best.
Exactly.
On that basis, they've all employed to continue to do their practices to plant non-GM soya. Then you come and tell us that you are bringing GM soya to the country for us to eat. For who to eat? And they say for the feed industry. My brother, if you go to the poultry industry now, it's virtually on its knees. Because the poultry farmers are struggling to access feed, maize and soya. That's what they use for their feed anyway. And one of the main reasons is that the price of these are very expensive.
And also sometimes not available.
They are available. They can't buy it. Right? Now, we are being told that we are importing GM soya and maize to Ghana.
For do what? To reduce the price?
Which will be even expensive than what you are producing here. So, what's the logic? I mean, I don't get that logic. You understand?
I get it.
So, it appears that there is something that is amiss in this whole GMO
conversation. So what really for you is a way forward? Is the door closed on you? Because government position is quite clear. Well, if government was not interested, they wouldn't have put these bills before Parliament for passage.
You're right. Well, I can tell you on authority that even though it appears that it's peasant farmers that have led the process to issue the statement and got the response, we have a lot of very powerful individuals and institutions that are backing us. I just had a chat with one very important personnel at the Ministry of Food and Agric, and he tells me, and I quote, that we should resist them. And that was a person from MUFA. So it means that even at the ministry,
not everybody is in support of this. But in terms of the resistance, how are you going about it?
We have a lot of things that we've planned. We hope to have a very mega press conference next week with all our allies coming on board. We are also planning to engage very key influential people who have already expressed their interest in joining our cause, but they want to understand the issues better. So we've engaged them, and then very soon we'll be on board. We are a farmer group.
Of course.
And we have farmers all over the country. So, and they are agitating that what can we do to support you? We want to go on demonstrations. We're like, okay, let's do the ingredient processes. So we have planned a couple of things that we'll be doing. And I'm sure that in a couple of weeks, you'll hear from us very soon.
But for the farmer, is he or she in a state of anger or fear of losing his business entirely?
It's a combination of a lot of these things. Because where the farmers say that, why are you forcing us to get things that we don't like? Right? And others to have genuine fears. Because sometimes you read reports from other countries like India or so, where some farmers were in debt crisis because of this GM stuff. Right. So some farmers are also apprehensive that what's in this for us. We also have a culture where we have a lot of farmers who practice their safe seeds. And they have a lot of indigenous seeds. And sometimes we try to downplay it. But these indigenous seeds, some of them have various traits. Some of them are tolerant to drought, tolerant to flood, tolerant to some diseases. They are there.
Right.
So we are surprised, why are we not focusing on whether developing that? And if you go even to my science colleagues and seniors, colleagues from CSIR and SARI, if you talk to them and they show you the catalog of local varieties that they've developed, they are there. Plenty. Local knowledge.
Right.
So why are we not interested in pushing what is ours?
All right. I guess it's a conversation that will expand. Hopefully next week after your news conference. Anote, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
You also